Jesus said this: if a man wants to build a house, he must first figure out how much it's going to cost, because otherwise he's going to run out of money halfway through and look like an idiot. That's my paraphrase. He also said if a man wants to go to war, it's a good idea to figure out how many enemy soldiers are coming at him and what he needs to win. Because we want to be winners. We want to move forward. And in leadership, we need to be those who have a record of victories and are moving forward in order to establish credibility. When we sit down with somebody and say, how would you feel about leading a community? We don't want people just to say, yes, of course, without thinking it through. We want people to count the cost. Now, some of you listening to this are already community leaders, and you might be saying, oops, I said yes before counting the cost. But we need people to understand there is a great cost to being a leader in the household of God. It's a tremendous privilege also. I can tell you much about the cost and the price that I've paid as a leader in God's house, but I could talk for twice as long on the absolute privilege it is to be used by God as well. I would not do anything else if I had the choice. So it's a tremendous privilege, but there is a cost. I remember some time ago being on a weekend away with Andrew and some of the elders, and on the very last session, just as we were about to pack up, Andrew said, hey guys, how have you found this weekend? Let's go around the room. And I remember Kim Muller was there, and he was, oh, this is life-changing. It's been the best weekend of my life. And everybody was saying how amazing it was. And it came to me, and I was like, no, this has not been a good weekend for me. Why? And I didn't want to say, and eventually, this is what I said. I feel like I can't do this anymore. But at the same time, I can't stop doing it because the Lord has asked me to do it. So I can't stop, but I feel I'm trapped. And because I opened up and I was vulnerable, the guys came alongside me, encouraged me, prayed for me, and gave me the faith and the energy and the vision to move forward. If you're going to be a leader in God's house, there are going to be times when you want to quit because the price is great. Here's how it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you your friends. One, because people won't like you anymore. Some of them. Some of them will start treating you differently. I remember being ordained as an elder, and the next day I walked into a room and people are, oh, here's the elder. And they were kind of joking, but they were kind of not as well. And it made my friendships a little bit different. Likewise, as a leader, I was speaking into people's lives, and some people didn't like that. It cost me friendships. And some of the friendships it cost me was because I didn't have time. And I had to say to people, I love you, but I've got the work of the Lord to do. It will cost you tears. It will cost you sleepless nights. It will cost you stress, not in an ungodly way, but you will carry a weight and a burden of the people that the Lord's asked you to lead. If you're not carrying that burden, you're not really leading them. It'll cost you your reputation. I was talking to somebody only today. I was in one of our congregations as an elder for about 18 months before I moved on to another congregation. And one of the leaders described that as the worst 18 months of his life. I remember counseling a young girl, and she was really in a bad place. And, you know, we really kind of helped her and poured our lives into her. And then the very next day, when I say young girl, she was an adult. But the next day, her father phoned me and said, what are you doing speaking to my daughter? Like, you're this and you're that and the other. And it's like, if you lead God's people, it will cost you your reputation. It will cost you your time. It will cost you money. It will cost you everything you have. And while it's all fresh and new, you might go, yes, I'm willing to pay the price. But if you don't stay fresh, and if you don't stay focused, and if you don't stay connected to Jesus, eventually you'll come to a point where you say, why am I paying this price? And that's a very dangerous place to be. See, Jesus said it's when we find the pearl of great price that we gladly sell everything we have to grab that pearl. If we lose sight of the pearl, then we can resent having to sell everything that we have. And when we're feeling like that, what should we do? What should our response be? Well, Jesus said something, again, which is very, very challenging. He said, if a man puts his hand to the plough and then looks back, I am not pleased with him. Now, the context of that obviously was primarily with salvation. And so people talk about salvation and say, but that's different to my calling. That's different to but it can't be, you cannot separate your calling from your salvation, because you are saved for a purpose. You're saved into a life of obedience. And if the master says, this is what I want you to do, and you say no, then he's not your master anymore. And so I want to say this. If you're called to lead, and then you look back and say, I don't want to lead anymore, I think it brings the displeasure of the Lord. Now, that isn't to say we must plough on regardless and just burn ourselves out. But there is a healthy way to respond in those moments, and an unhealthy way. And the one thing I want to say is this. Almost always, stepping down is a bad idea. Very rarely have I seen anybody step down from leadership and then later come back and walk in the fullness of what God's got. That doesn't mean we can't take a break, or we can't just shift, or we can't get help. But stepping back, stepping down, and giving up is not an option. And we need to settle that whilst life is still good. We need to settle that before we've made the decision. We need to settle that. It's like before my wife and I got married, we settled divorce would not be an option. Murder might be, but never divorce. And so no matter how much tension or difficulty our marriage might get into, we're safe, because that is not an option we will ever explore. And I want us as leaders to take that option off the table. Imagine this. I come home to my wife and my children one day and I said, I'm feeling really burdened. I'm stressed out. I've been doing this now for a long time. And, I'm really tired and I just need some time for myself. So I'm going to stop being a husband and father for a while. I'm just going to disappear. I might come back sometime later. What do my children feel? What does my wife feel? The other thing is, as a leader, you go to the people and say, life is tough, I'm quitting. And I know life is tough. Life has always been tough. It always will be tough. That's just how it is. But if the people that you're leading hear you say, this is hard, I'm not doing anymore, it tells them, as those who imitate their leaders, that quitting is the way to respond to difficulty. I believe there's a better way. If as a community leader, you're going through a stressful time, maybe capacity, maybe emotionally, maybe spiritually, maybe relationally, I think the healthiest thing is, one, make sure the leaders around you and your elders are well aware of your situation so they can come alongside you, help you, process you through it. But then go to your community and say, guys, we are going through a tough time. We need you to come alongside us and help us as we lead you. And you know what that tells the people? It tells the people, I'm going to persevere through my difficulties. I'm going to be accountable when I'm going through difficulties. I can't do it alone and I need help. Which is healthier for the people you're leading? I can't do it, I quit. Or I feel I can't do it, I need help and I'm going to persevere. Stepping down is not the right way. Stepping forward is the right way. And having people help you and come alongside you is the right idea. If you need a holiday is good. Even Jesus would take times and he would go away on his own for quiet times. We need to keep ourselves fresh. But I also want to say this. If you're feeling like you can't do it anymore, first and foremost, don't move backwards. Maybe change your focus and find your connection and that vision of the pearl of great price again. And be those who push forward. Winston Churchill had a very good quote for this kind of scenario. He said, if you feel like you're going through hell, keep going. We have to be a people who are always moving forward and not quitting. The book of Revelation has great promises for those who overcome and those who persevere. And Acts 2:42 That famous passage that we're always quoting, they devoted themselves. That word is moving forward under pressure. Let us be leaders who don't quit. We count the cost. We're prepared to pay the cost. And when things get tough, we have a resolute heart and a sense of teamwork which will push us forward even in the midst of our tough times.